한국 드라마에서 아들이나 딸 부모님이 원하는 거 반대로 해서 부모님 이렇게 you're a pain in the neck 이렇게 말할 수 있죠. 안녕하세요 여러분. Hello everyone. I'm Spencer. 저는 스펜서라고 합니다. Continuing from my last video, check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Today we will take a look at the 4 most commonly used English words for the Korean word 아픔. Sickness, illness, disease, and pain. Let's get into the nuances and you can see when and how to use these words. 끝까지 봐주시고 구독하고 좋아요 눌러주세요. Please watch to the end and remember to like and subscribe. 시작합시다. Let's get started. Sickness, illness, and disease are often used interchangeably. In normal conversation, this is okay, although there are some differences. Pain, on the other hand, isn't used interchangeably, and the main difference in these words lies in the perspective, whether it's first-person perspective or third-person perspective. First of all, let's start with sickness. Sickness, and let's see when to use it. The basic definition of sickness is the state of being ill. Here, the societal perspective is important. The third person perspective. This means the society recognizes someone as having a sickness or not. The time of sickness could be short or long. For instance, I stayed home from work due to sickness. I stayed home from work due to sickness. This is probably for the flu or a cold, so it's only a couple of days. Here's another example. Insurance companies sell insurance against sickness and unemployment. Insurance companies sell insurance against sickness and unemployment. These kind of sicknesses are more long-term. This is like 질병 in Korean. Next, sickness is also used to describe feeling nauseous. This is like I described in the last video with get sick. In Korean, it's like 메스꺼움 or 고토, 토할 것 같은. There are 2 special cases of this you should remember. Motion sickness and morning sickness. Motion sickness is the nausea experienced in a moving vehicle. In the case of cars, it is also called car sickness. She suffers from motion sickness, and so she must take medicine before getting in cars. She suffers from motion sickness, and so she must take medicine before getting in cars. Morning sickness is the nausea pregnant women experience, especially in the morning. My wife has bad morning sickness. My wife has bad morning sickness. Now, how to use it. You will often hear of sickness benefits in the UK. These are the benefits offered by the government for people who are too sick to work. This is called disability pay in the United States. It is also often just called disability. I got accepted for disability pay due to my poor back. I got accepted for disability pay due to my poor back. Second is illness. Illness. Let's see when to use it. One definition of illness is a disease or period of sickness affecting the mind or body. You can see here that illness is the largest category. This is because the first person perspective is important with illness. This means the word is used to explain how the ill person feels. So a doctor might not find anything actually wrong with the person. The time could be long or short for an illness. For example, when you are exhausted, your body cannot defend itself against illness. When you're exhausted, your body can't defend itself against illness. Also, illness is used in the case of mental disorders. They are called mental illnesses. This is 정신질환 in Korean. Several examples are depression, uurjun, bipolar disorder, 조울증. Anorexia, anorexia. 거식증. He was diagnosed with mental illness as a teenager. He was diagnosed with mental illness as a teenager. Some illnesses are chronic. This means it's an illness that might or might not have a cure. They are called chronic illnesses. They are also called diseases. This is 질병 in Korean. Some physical chronic illnesses are asthma, 천식, diabetes, 당뇨병, cancer, 암, dementia, 치매, arthritis, 관절염. My grandmother developed a chronic illness later in life. Next is disease. And when to use it. Disease is a kind of disorder in a human, animal, or plant that shows specific signs and symptoms. Medical professionals' perspective is important here. This means a disease is diagnosed by a doctor. So this is a third-person perspective. A disease can be for a short or a long time. Good Korean translations for this are 병, 질병, and 질환. Obesity and heart disease are closely linked. Next, as I mentioned when talking about illness, a disease can be chronic. This means the disease is long-term, possibly forever. This is 만성병 in Korean. Here's an example. Depression, diabetes, and asthma are among the list of chronic diseases. There are also acute diseases. These are different from chronic diseases. They happen quickly and require urgent or short-term care. This is 급성병 in Korean. Here's an example. Appendicitis is an acute disease that can cause death if untreated. Finally, disease can also be used to talk about a harmful development in society. Here's an example. Poverty and crime are diseases in this city, and I believe there's a cure. Next, how to use it. If a disease can end in death, it is called a fatal disease or potentially fatal disease. This is 심각한 질병 in Korean. Here's an example. The virus is a potentially fatal and contagious disease. If some disease was developed at a workplace, it is called an occupational disease. This is 직업병 in Korean. Lung disease is a common occupational disease amongst factory workers. Lastly is pain. Let's see when to use it. Talked about the adjective painful. Pain is used when a specific part of your body is painful. It could be a symptom of an illness or a disease, or it could be caused by an injury. The first person perspective is important here. The time could be long or short. In Korean, this is like 고통 or 통증. I felt shooting pains in my stomach after eating spicy food. His disease causes him constant pain. Just like painful, pain is also used to talk about mental or emotional suffering. I was in pain after being broken up with. Pain of humiliation cannot be easily forgotten. Now, how to use it. One phrase that's good to know is pain in the neck. This means that someone is annoying. 한국 드라마에서 아들이나 딸 부모님이 원하는 거 반대로 해서 부모님 이렇게 you're a pain in the neck. 이렇게 말할 수 있죠. Here's another example. My little brother is a huge pain in the neck. He's always taking my stuff. My little brother is a huge pain in the neck. He's always taking my stuff. 까지 잘 보셨습니까? Did you enjoy the video to the end? If so, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. 구독하고 좋아요 그리고 알람 설정까지 부탁드립니다. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again. 다음에 봐요.